How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good. So, what you been up to?
Doing the podcast pretty much.
Well, that's good. Is it easy to do? Are you finding it to be fluid and easy to do?
It gets easier every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first time I was really nervous.
You're so not nervous right now, but I am a little bit.
Everyone is once, it starts and everything.
And why is that?
I think it's because you're finally realizing that people are going to be listening to this, even if it's just a small. Because I don't get many views at all.
But that's okay, It's about really what people are interested in and what we talk about, that will increase the views.
I don't care how many people listen.
Yeah.
It could be 0.
So you're basically doing this it's just something that you've always wanted to try out and see.
So the main reason I wanted to do it was for Grandma, because she is getting older and everything. Mm-hmm. And she has a bunch of stories that she's told us or hasn't told us yet. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to get at least some of them recorded and out there. So that way, maybe when I'm older, I can go back and listen to them. Or when my son gets older, he can listen to them if he wants. Or maybe generations from now, they find and they're like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I would have never known otherwise.
Right, yeah. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, for the same reasons as you are doing it, because I enjoy going back and listening to what is being said and hearing the voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm trying to think of what I did today. I'm going to tell you what I did today. I woke up and I did laundry and stuff like that. And I always like to watch, Discovery Channel.
Right.
Because I like baking and cooking. But I also like watching things being reconstructed. Like building things.
Like the show How It's Made?
Like that, or, when they redo houses and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like watching stuff like that. So I did that. I always like to drink coffee. Coffee is good for you, by the way.
To some extent.
Well, it depends on what you put in it.
I don't think the way Americans drink coffee is healthy.
Oh, you mean like Starbucks and they put all those additives in it?
Well, that along with, you have some people, they drink like 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee a day. Oh. And they can't live without it.
Oh, that, yeah, I would say that, especially if you're putting stuff in it is bad for you. And me having a medical problem that I have, I found that I can't do that anymore. So, and I think a lot of people don't realize what they're putting into their bodies. And a lot of doctors don't tell them. It's like they medicate and forget,
When I was getting my fingerprints done yesterday, there was a whole bunch of women there, right? I didn't think anything of it at first, but then they all started talking to one another and everything. And then I eventually realized they all knew each other. I don't know what they do or what kind of job they have or anything. But one of the ladies was like, I can go get everyone Starbucks and everything. And then all these women start listing off, like, I want a double shot this with oatmeal milk and all this kind of crazy stuff. And I was like, wow, people actually drink that stuff. And they have these, one of the ladies had to send her a text because how much stuff she wanted was just too much to say.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I and you notice it when you have a medical issue, because now if I do drink it, which I'm not going to lie, I still like it. I don't drink it 6 times a day. It's like a treat once a week or something like that. Because I'm trying to wean myself from doing it, you know. And I want to initially get down to just drinking black coffee because that's the best. But I've tried very hard to not drink it, but it's difficult because of all the additives in it.
Right.
And but I love it.
Oh, I'm sure you do. You're probably addicted to it.
But like I said, I can tell how it's going to affect my body. Let's say I haven't had it for a few days, and then I go back and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell because of my medical issue. I can tell what it's doing to my body. And it does taste good. It doesn't affect the top half, but it affects the midsection because of, having the issue that I have. It does affect because the way it goes through your body, how everything is filtered or non-filtered. And if you don't have a certain body part in your body, it will not filter it. And so it goes straight to a main organ,
mm-hmm.
right? Which could be, over time, bad for you.
And your problem is your liver, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't have my gallbladder. So therefore, my gallbladder is like a filter. And because I don't have that anymore, all that stuff is going straight to my liver,
mm-hmm.
which can cause fatty liver disease. But I also have an autoimmune that is attacking my liver. So in the same token, I'm having two evils going at me.
Two trains coming at you at the same time.
Right. But see, one of them, I don't have a choice because it's not curable, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other one, I do have a choice.
Oh, so it is curable.
No. What I'm saying is what I put into my body.
Oh, okay.
Is the choice.
Mm-hmm.
The autoimmune is not the choice because the doctors told me it's not curable. It's always going to be there.
So in making that choice of what you eat and everything, does it slowly eradicate all the bad things that happen to you due to it? Or it just makes it lighter?
It could be, I guess, dormant, maybe go into remission.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm learning from other people that autoimmune diseases can be cured, mm-hmm. or the effects from them can not necessarily be cured, but lightened.
Mm-hmm.
And with mine, it's rare. So I have to educate myself more about it and maybe go see another health specialist, a different kind of health specialist, to try to figure it out. But the only problem with that is they don't take insurance and you have to pay out of pocket, mm-hmm. for it. And then just for a consultation, it's like $150 just to see the doctor.
They don't take any kind of insurance?
Well, the one that I call, they do not take insurance. They super bill you. And then you have to send it to the insurance, and then the insurance will decide what they're going to cover and what they're not going to cover, or if they cover anything at all.
That's kind of ridiculous. You're having to do all the work for the insurance company, pretty much.
And that's one of the things that I did want to talk about is, the government and all this insurance. We're being controlled by the medical, right? Because we can't decide. I mean, if you have a PPO, you can decide who you go and see, right? But at the same time, like if I wanted an MRI or something like that, I would have to go to the doctor. The doctor would have to write, basically, she needs an MRI because she has a broken bone or something like that.
Right.
It can't just be, she's in pain. It has to be very specific. Mm-hmm. And they want you to do all these other things before the MRI. But yourself with your body. You know your body. Mm-hmm. You know when you're hurting. You know when something's not right.
Right.
It should be up to the patient to say, okay, I know I need an MRI because something else, what I've done thus far hasn't worked, but now you want me to go doing other stuff before I get an MRI, when we can just do the MRI and find out the issue. Mm-hmm. And that's what's frustrating with someone who has issues, is because you have to go through all these steps, pay all these copays, when on top of it, you're already paying insurance monthly, mm-hmm. right? And it's just very frustrating.
Well, I always found it strange that your dental care and your vision care isn't included in your health plan. Mm-hmm. Because if I can't see, chances are I'm not going to work. Mm-hmm. Or at least it's harder to get a job, mm-hmm. right? And same thing if, your teeth. People don't want somebody who ain't got no teeth, being a bank teller or anything like that, mm-hmm. right?
Right.
So that makes it more difficult as well.
Right. And also, it should be included because dental affects your medical well-being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have a heart attack if you don't take care of your teeth because all that bad stuff is going into your bloodstream.
Yeah, everything in your body's connected. If something's wrong,
Right.
probably something else in your body is wrong as well.
So why wouldn't it all be encompassed into one?
Well, that's just to get more money out of the people.
And that's one thing I wanted to talk about too is socialism. Is that part of socialism? Is that part of the government trying to control everything? You know, is that like a tier thing, I guess you could say? Or some people would call it the Illuminati, where you got these people that are controlling the government and the government controls us. Mm-hmm. To where we have to do these things in order to get these things.
Do you think there's an Illuminati?
I think there's a lot of rich people out there that have a say in what we do. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily mean there's like a one guy.
Like a puppet master kind of deal?
Yeah,
that
I'm
are
not
taking
saying
control
that.
of all the rich people?
Yeah. But I'm not saying anything bad against rich people either, because rich people also give us jobs. Because if they didn't build companies, we wouldn't have jobs, right?
But why do you need a job? For money, right?
Yeah, I need a job for money.
Which is just a made-up system.
Well, I mean, I can't see it from your perspective because that's how I was raised. You just get up and you work.
There's no problem with that, right? Like if back in the day you worked for food, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you got up in the morning, went and plowed the fields and everything, and then you go, get the potatoes out of the ground, the carrots, you pick the apples out of the tree and everything, and then you go slaughter the pig for your family and everything. That's totally all well and cool and everything, right? Mm-hmm. But getting up and working for paper to then go buy those things, to me is a little ridiculous. Or anything, if you got up and worked for cryptocurrency, that you can then go buy a potato or bacon or whatever necessities you need. That's dumb to me. Well,
there's, I can see where you can see money as a paper, but they've made it a value, so that's why it is the way it is.
No. They didn't make it a value. We just agreed upon the value. The only reason why the dollar still exists is because people all agree that money makes the world go round.
I mean, in some respect, I agree with what you're saying, but in other respect, I feel like we're controlled to think that way.
Well, yeah, you're brainwashed from when you're really young.
Not necessarily agreeing, right? But the government is saying, okay, this is what we've made, this is what you have to use, and that's it. Mm-hmm. There's no bartering anymore. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, we have so many lazy people in this country that are not willing to do the work. Right. They're to barter. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't see people out there plowing fields or anything like that. I mean, you have people who are willing to cross the border to do that work, to get paid the $7 an hour, because we have lazy people. And it's not one race. Mm-hmm. It's all different kinds of races, right?
Well, it's more of a cultural thing in America, right? We have a lot of big cities. And within those big cities, you have a lot of convenience. Mm-hmm. You can drive right down the street, go to the convenience store, and get pretty much whatever kind of snack you want. Mm-hmm. You can drive 5 to 10 minutes to the nearest store and get whatever good you want. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of weakened us as a society, almost, because everything is so right there. Mm-hmm. You really don't have to, quote unquote, work for it anymore. You no longer have to go out in the field, plant the seed, water it every day to get what you want. You just walk over to the store, pay $5, and boom, you got a snack.
Right. So convenience has killed the working people, basically. It's made them lazy, made them...
Not all, I wouldn't say all the people. There are people that are inherently lazy no matter what. Right. But I think it has helped with creating more lazy people.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes. And also, especially now with the internet. I mean, you can sit in your recliner at home and order something to eat and it comes straight to your door, right? Instead of getting up and going to a pizza joint and picking up your pizza,
Right.
You can get it delivered to your door. And now it's everything. It's groceries, it's fast food, it's everything. And which is horrible, I think. I'm not saying that I've never used it. I have. But I have found that to be so convenient that it's horrible. It's horrible for the human body to be able to sit on their recliner and order McDonald's, whatever it may be, whatever you like.
Well, not only that, but it's also a social thing. Because you can have it to where they just drop it at the door and they walk off and they send you a picture that it's there, right? You don't get any interaction with that.
No. But see, now that's a choice. You could have that interaction, right? You could choose to go to the door. But we now have this internet thing where kids are stuck in their room and they're playing video games and they're not really socially interacting outside of their room.
Well, you also have to look at the kind of country we've created, right? Like you take any random big city. Where's all the grass? Where's the parks for the kids to play in and everything? They're far and few between. And if they are there, usually they're run down.
Right.
Right? For the most parts, it's usually just streets and sidewalks in cities. There's nowhere to play there. You can't play basketball in the middle of a highway.
No. I mean, like in New York City, they do have Central Park, but you can only go there. I mean, I don't know this to be a real thing, but I would assume Central Park being a bad place at night because a lot of people have been murdered there, to where you're only limited to what hours you can go there even to play with your kids or spend time with your family or whatever. And I know in those big metropolis areas, it's the same way. It's like you have places where you can go at night. You can't even go for a nice walk at night anymore nowadays. It's hard. Maybe here where we live you could, but
Well, I wouldn't. There's no street lights or anything.
In the big cities, I would think it would be more difficult because there's so much more crime, and well, out here we have no lights and we have to watch out for coyotes. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's like all these things trickle down to, and it's all negative stuff, it's like our health. We have to watch out where we go nowadays,
Well, humans, for the sake of convenience, are willing to do that to themselves.
And that's horrible. That's horrible that that our government has allowed that to happen. Why is it when, like now that I have this medical issue, I really have to watch what I eat, right? And like me, I'm fortunate. I can go and buy the food that I need to eat. But then you have the less fortunate that can't do that. If somebody had the same thing that I have, and they know now, okay, all I can eat now is fruits, vegetables, all the good stuff, right? But it's so expensive, right? To do that every week. Well, now they feel like they're forced to go and to do something else. But see, that also plays into the lazy mentality, right? You have this issue. You need to eat this food. So now you have to readjust your life. Do I get a better job? Do I get a second job to do what I need to do to live, right?
Well, how overreaching do you think the government should get? Because you're making it sound like almost they should control what we eat, how much of something we can buy.
Well, no, I'm saying they are controlling because they make the things that are unhealthy for you less money for you to afford.
They don't do that. The companies do.
Well, aren't the companies controlled by the government in some way? I mean,
they have regulations that they have to follow and everything. But we live in a free market society where if I own a business where I sell chocolate bars, right, and my competition is Hershey, and their Hershey bar, let's say, is $1.99 for a real big one, right? I make mine 99 cents only because I know I'm going to make more money Because if it's close to the same taste of chocolate and everything, right? But a lower price for the same amount, which one are you going to choose? The one that's less.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that's what happens.
So you think that the government is, or the companies do that not to sell more because they have to pay higher taxes? Or is it because, to me, it has a lot to do with the government controlling by tax money and stuff like that. Like, they sell things at a lesser price, right? Because they'll make more money eventually because people will buy more because it's less, right? But they're also taxed very high.
Here's the thing, though. A lot of people don't know this, right? There are a lot of tax loopholes, right? I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2020 or 2019, 2021, somewhere around there. Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, paid $0 in taxes.
And why is that?
Tax loopholes. They have it to where certain companies can go to Puerto Rico and evade taxes legally.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm not educated on that, so I can't really comment on that because, I just see it from a human perspective. Somebody who's just trying to live day to day on this earth, and it's hard enough for someone who is healthy.
Here's what I think it is, right? The government knows that you need food, water, shelter to survive, not live, because there's a difference between surviving and living, right? Surviving is you're just making it. Living is you're enjoying it, right? And they know if they give, they give all these companies tax breaks and everything, they can lower wages for the people that work for them so they can make more money and actually live. They don't have to survive, right? We are now the working force for the slave masters of today. Sure, we're not getting whipped and, you have to sit in the field all day long doing all that stuff. But you have horrible working conditions. Like Amazon just had the other day, there was a warehouse fire and they still had people working, smoke in the building and everything.
Really? Wow. I can see that. At the same time, it's just, so how do you make it better?
You don't. This culture that we have in America will never make it better. It's either we will all become slaves at some point, or America will no longer exist. There is no in between. Because think about it. There are millions of people in America, right? And there's only a few billionaires, millionaires in America. All you got to do is take them out.
Yeah, but what about even though you make a low wage, right? You still have a job. Those people are supplying those jobs. How do you justify that?
That's what I'm trying to say. The only reason you need a job is to make money. And why do you need money? To pay your rent, pay your car, buy food, pay the water bill, pay the electric, and whatever other necessities you may have. If there is no money, there's nothing to buy, right? So money is the controlling unit for people.
Right.
All the rich people, they make buttloads of money. They don't ever have to worry about where their next meal is. If they want to buy a new home, they just get it, right?
Right.
But poor people, they're controlled by the dollar, which is used by the rich to control us.
Well, what about not every rich person?
Not every rich person.
Not every rich person gets that money, right? They earn that money, right? Not every rich person is handed that money on a gold platter and said, here you go, right? A lot of rich people earn and work hard for that money, right?
Do you know Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla and all that?
Yes, and I think he's an idiot.
His father owned I think it's a sapphire mine. Mine in South Africa. So he was rich, basically, from the day he was born.
I can see from that perspective, if you're already rich, okay, then you know how to manipulate the money, right, to your benefit. I get that. But somebody who wasn't handed that money, like, I use Sam Walton as an example for Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good man.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the places. He checked on the people. The way, I don't want to bad talk Walmart because I worked there. I mean, they did give me a job. But at the same time, I loved it better when I was working for Sam Walton because he really cared about the people that worked there.
But that's the thing anymore. No one cares anymore about the people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about making money. Because if your company's not making money, then the people who buy your stocks aren't making money.
Right. But it's the people on the front line that keep the customers. So why not care about the people?
That's where you're completely wrong. Because here's the thing, right? If you go anywhere today, how good is the service for the most part? Do they ask you how you're doing, how's your day going, and all that? 9 times out of 10, no. When you walk by them, I'm saying. Not when you're there checking out or whatever. You don't hear anything from them, right?
Well, let me just give you one example. I went to a store with a friend of mine, and there was this guy in there working, and he walked by and he says, he did say, how was your day?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are people out there that do that, right?
Right.
And I said, oh, how was your day? And he goes, wow, no one's ever said that to me. It's that human reaction that we don't have anymore. You know, it's like all people want to do is go in a store, get their stuff, and leave. There is no human reaction, you know?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, right? So for the most part, workers, they don't want to work for that company. Why? Because that company doesn't care for them. So they don't, in turn, don't care about the company. Mm-hmm. That worker is going to get paid whether customers show up or not, right? But here's the thing. The biggest store, I think, in America is Walmart. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, big box company.
Yeah.
They're going to go to Walmart no matter what.
Right.
You know, and if you lose one customer to Costco or something, they don't care. They're still raking in millions.
Right. But at the same time, is you really don't want to lose customers. And the only reason why, like where we live, we have the Walmart. Mm-hmm. That's a convenient place for everybody. Right? Yeah, you can go to Smith's or Albertsons or somewhere like that. But Walmart is very competitive in their pricing, right? Mm-hmm. Just like you said, you make things less to make people want to go there more or get it more, right? And that's what Walmart does. That's a smart marketing thing. And you can get it all in one place.
But what I'm also saying is they know you have to go to a store.
Right.
Because no one, or for the most part, no one grows their own food anymore.
Right.
You know? It's very rare, especially out here in the desert, to find somebody who has a garden.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. So they know the majority of people will go to the store. They don't care if it's your store.
Right.
Right? If they go to the other store and they have a bad experience, then they show up at your store until they have a bad experience. Then they go to the next one and the next one. Because what are they going to do when they run out of stores? They're going to have to pick one.
Right.
You know?
That's true. They will, yeah.
That's another thing that's wrong with American culture, right? Because of these big, giant cities, you have small plots of land and no one can grow food on them. Or you have people living in apartment buildings where all they have is like a little tiny porch that they get to step out in.
Or HOAs.
Or HOAs. That's one of the worst creations ever.
Ever. I totally agree. Because you can't, there's nothing you can do. You can and you can't do things at your house. And no one should ever have control over something that you paid for, that you worked hard to get. Because that's like a dream for people to own their own house.
Well, you don't ever own your own house.
Well, I'm just saying, like, let's just look at it from a perspective right now. It's just someone's dream to own a house, right? Mm-hmm. So they go to the bank, they get the money, they have the house, they're working hard to get to that point where they can own it, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're living in an HOA, you go in with a very positive perspective on everything, but then the HOA just crashes down on you, right? It's just the same. It's the same idea as the government controlling the medical and stuff like that. It's like it's like you're in a hole and you can't get out of it, you know?
You want to know one of the dumbest things ever?
Mm-hmm.
You could own your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have a well on it, so you don't have a water bill, right?
Right.
You could have solar, enough to where you don't have an electric bill anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You paid off the house, the cars are paid off and everything. What is the one bill you're going to have to pay annually? Land tax.
Yes.
That's another way they keep people down.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just another bill that doesn't need to be there. All it is going into whatever senator's pocket.
Right. Well, why do we need land tax?
Well, because the government says so. Oh, we need more money for education and medical, even though we don't even help out on those things.
Oh, that's another thing that makes me really mad is they say, okay, we need this money for, because I looked on my property tax thing, bill, and I saw all these things and I'm paying for, and I'm like, why are we paying for that? It's like Tacoma. I don't know how far Tacoma is from here. But why are we paying for them?
Well, because they don't have enough people living there to subsidize it.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. So, I mean, it's the little things that people don't really realize that what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm older and wiser to look at all these little things, it's really frustrating to me because all I want to do is just... my head wants to explode, especially when it comes to the medical field.
Mm-hmm. Now
that I have this medical issue. Yeah, you could look at me and say, well, why didn't you care prior to that? Well, I was a lot younger, and when you have a younger mentality, you don't think about stuff like that. But when you develop issues, then you start to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really irritates me. Here I am paying all this money out for medical already out of my paycheck, and now I still have to pay copays? That's ridiculous.
Well, to me, it's the same either way, whether you pay more taxes and then you walk in and it's free, or you pay your monthly bill and the copays. To me, it's all the same.
So with socialism, like other countries, they say, well, everything's free. Everything's free. I saw this girl on TikTok. She was like, everything's free. We don't have to pay for school. We don't have to pay for this and that and this and that. And I wrote a comment. I'm like, it's not free. Nothing is free in this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're either getting something for less and you're paying taxes on it, right? Or you're getting it free and you're paying an enormous tax on it, right?
That's why I say it's exactly the same no matter what. You might be paying more or less on either of those situations.
So, but why do people think it's better?
Because the difference is in America, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I have to have a surgery. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what kind of surgery. I can't afford it, right? And my insurance refuses to pay for it. Mm-hmm. Am I getting that surgery?
No.
No, because I don't want to go into $100,000 worth of debt to get whatever surgery I need done. Mm-hmm. Whereas in other countries, you may not be able to walk in right away, depending on the severity of the surgery. But it's most likely going to get done for free. Not free, but you're not going into $100,000 worth of debt just to get the surgery done.
Yeah, but you're paying it over time in your taxes, right?
Well, which would you rather have, get the surgery done or not?
Well, some people now have died waiting.
They have, yes.
Because of socialism is that way. You have to, because there's such a long line of people with medical issues.
Well, that's also because people don't take care of themselves.
Right, I agree with that. Like, especially now that I know how I have to take care of myself now, and I can reverse some of the symptoms that I have with the way I take care of myself, then yeah, that's a choice. That's why I'm saying I have the autoimmune. That's well and done. I can't do anything about that.
Right.
It's rare. It's not going away. But I can make a choice of how I live.
Right.
Exercise, eat right, all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but with the government, what do?
What do you mean?
Do you really have a choice? Because they're controlling us.
I mean, so in ways they're controlling us and in ways they're not, right? I would say one way they're controlling us into having a mentality of where you don't really need to take care of yourself is with like education, in physical education specifically. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to do anything anymore to get an A. Like the high school I went to, all you had to do was dress out in the PE clothes and you got an A.
Yeah.
You could dress out and then just walk the track the entire period until it ends, change out of your PE clothes, go to the next class, you got an A.
Right.
But someone like me, in my senior year, right, I had all the stuff I needed for physical education to graduate already, right? I just wanted to take another PE class because it's fun.
Right.
And, something else to do. Mm-hmm. I didn't dress out at all that entire time I was in that PE class, and I wound up with an F.
Oh.
Even though I did everything.
Wow.
And I was wearing a t-shirt and basketball shorts, the same exact thing that I would have dressed out of into.
Really?
Yeah, because the gym clothes they give you is just regular basketball shorts with the school logo on it and a t-shirt with a school logo on it. But I wore a t-shirt without the school logo and basketball shorts without the school logo, so I got an F.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I did every single thing. We played football, I played football. Badminton, tennis, basketball, didn't matter. I was playing it. But then the kids who dressed out and then just walk around and do nothing.
But that's part of the protocol is you dress out, right?
But that shouldn't be something that is graded upon in a physical education class, in my opinion. It should be based on the physical part of the education.
So you didn't want to wear it, or you...
I just thought it was stupid, so I didn't do it.
Oh.
Why am I going to switch out of a t-shirt and basketball shorts to switch into a t-shirt and basketball shorts? Just so I can get an A for a class I don't even need?
That's true. Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to understand physical education.
That's what I'm saying, though. They just allow kids to pass.
Because it's an elective, right? It is.
It's mandatory.
Oh, it's mandatory.
It's mandatory to graduate. At least when I graduated, it was mandatory.
I don't think when I was in school it was... I think it was an elective. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, now, do you think it's a bad thing to make it a mandatory thing with the rising obesity in this country? And
oh, it should absolutely be mandatory.
Right.
I only had to take 2 years of physical education. It should be all 4 years.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. And I don't agree. I don't care what people call me when I make this comment, but I don't think a fat person should be teaching physical education.
Well, that's also another thing with society, right? Teachers don't get paid enough, so they just take whoever they can get with a degree.
Well, that's unfortunate because if I'm in a physical education, like when I was growing up, my teachers were physically fit, right? Nowadays, when my kids were going through school, their teachers had looked like beer bellies. What I call beer bellies, not necessarily saying they drink, but overeaters, they're hanging over their belt. Yeah, they got a
muffin top.
Yeah. Well, you don't want somebody teaching your kid that's like contradicting, right? Well, you're not physically educated because if you was, you'd be in shape, right? Mm-hmm. Well, hello.
Well, that's in a way I was talking about how in a way they are controlling us, the government is, because they keep defunding schools every year. Mm-hmm. They have less and less money to give teachers and everything. So with less teachers, you have more students to a classroom, and that's less educating that's actually getting done.
Right. 2, why are they defunding the schools? Isn't our tax money supposed to go to school things?
Only a little bit. The rest goes in their pocket.
Is that part of, they're also spending it on frivolous stuff, too?
Well, yeah.
Why do we have to know how mosquitoes mate and stuff like that? Why do we need to know stuff? I don't know if that's really a thing, but I'm just using that as an example of how stupid they spend our money.
Well, I don't think stuff like that is stupid, because it is a good thing to understand what is around you in the world and everything, you know? Because if I don't know that plant over there is going to kill me if I eat it or not, right? Mm-hmm. But with research and everything, we can figure stuff like that out. Uh-huh. Or if this bug is poisonous or not, right?
But, key point, if you're not educating the people to go and do stuff like that, the scientists are educated from a teacher, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not paying those people to educate us, then you're not going to have those people that do that.
Well, right? They don't care. They'll just bring it in from other countries.
But those people have to be educated as well, right?
But they're being educated in their country, and then they come here. That's the thing. They go to school for free over there, right? Get all their degrees and everything, and then if a good job lands up here, they just come here. And then they, do their science work here underneath.
Yeah, but when you look at the base issue, like, let's say everything in the United States was free. Mm-hmm. Okay? Medical, school, everything. But then you go to work, right? You're going to work. Like, for me, I work, right? Mm-hmm. And then I get home and I'm like, what happened to my paycheck? Well, my tax bracket is, 39, maybe 50% of my pay? Mm-hmm. I still have to buy groceries. I still have to pay for electric. I still have to pay for water, maybe.
But that's what I'm saying. They keep you in poverty, so you're a slave to the dollar.
And that's wherever. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States or in Denmark or Switzerland or places like that.
Well, I wouldn't know about that because I don't live there.
Well, I'm just saying that those are socialism places, right? Does it really matter where you live?
No, honestly? Not really, because you're going to be controlled no matter what.
So what do you do? I mean, what do we do as a society to fix it?
Well, you have to start with yourself, right? You have to start trying to become self-sufficient, right? So, like, for me, my garden wasn't big, and it would not have fed my family, through winter or anything like that. But it's a start. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is start small. You make a garden, if you can. You start exercising. You start learning new things.
So what about, like, for men and women, like we go back to, like, the prairie days where the woman was in the house and the men was out planting the garden and stuff like that?
I don't know about that. I mean, it's just, whoever does what.
Because back then they were doing the bartering system, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't have, well, I should probably educate myself better on that, but did they have the money to do that? Did they barter all the time to get their seeds, their horses, their cattle, and all that,
More than likely, it was all just trading. Mm-hmm. So they had a bunch of stuff over here that we don't have, and we have a bunch of stuff that they don't have. So we just switch the stuff.
Do you think it will ever come back to that point? The way the things are going nowadays?
No.
And you think that we would be better as a society if we had it that way?
Absolutely.
Even with all these lazy people that are on welfare?
Well, so here's my thinking,
and using the welfare system?
I would love to have, like, my own little town, I guess you could call it, where people come that have the same ideology, right? Mm-hmm. If you work, you eat. Mm-hmm. You have a place to live. Mm-hmm. That's all you got to do. And it's all about helping each other and everything. Mm-hmm. There is no money involved, right?
Right.
If I don't have something in my house, I can go down to the local garden and get it. Or the local little store or whatever. But there's no money. There's just somebody there stocking it.
But where do they get it from? Like, let's say you don't have it in your farm, but you need it. Like, medication. Who gets that? I mean, you have to... Eventually, money has to come into play eventually, right?
You have to start small, right? So, I guess the only way to do it is you start yourself. You create, like, a little thing. Mm-hmm. You have a garden. You have whatever medical supplies you brought with you or whatever. And then as people come, they will bring their own stuff. Mm-hmm. And as more people start working together and everything, eventually, hopefully, you'd get everything you need. But if you're somebody who has to have medication to live, you cannot live like that.
Right.
And I understand that.
So what do those people do?
They don't live in that society.
So what do you do for those people that are on welfare? I'm not talking about people who need help, okay? There are people who need help, right? That are on the welfare system, okay? Mm-hmm. That they're so poor and they need help, okay? Or they're not getting the child support from the other parent. What do you say to those people?
To the ones that aren't doing anything, that they don't actually need the help, they just take it. Or the ones
we'll talk about the lazy ones first. The ones that don't contribute to society. They're either on drugs or they're, just in a bad way. And they choose to stay that way.
So if I had everything all set up and it wasn't just me, it was a bunch of other families all working together already mm-hmm. in that kind of society I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And somebody like that came in, we welcome them, right? Mm-hmm. But they have to work. Otherwise, you're gone.
You're out.
Because to me, like, unless you absolutely cannot work.
Like if you're handicapped or something like that.
Right. Then you should be working.
But, being addicted to drugs is not a handicap.
No, it's not.
Right. Okay. And having a lazy mentality is not a handicap.
Like, it's okay to be lazy every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
But when the stuff needs to get done, just get it done.
Right.
And then you can be lazy all you want because everything's done.
Right. So those people, you would welcome them on a trial basis.
Yeah.
To see how they do. Mm-hmm. To try to help them maybe reform themselves.
Because maybe they could see everything that is going on and everything. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I love this. I can try it out and everything. Mm-hmm. But if they don't work out, they're not going to stay.
Right.
I'm not going to let them stay.
Right.
Because why is everyone going to keep feeding you?
Right.
And helping you fix a house up or fix your house or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to do anything at all?
Yeah.
To me, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's like if you're just working at your regular job, you always have that person that will either go above and beyond, and then you have that other person that's just like either doing nothing or just mediocre. You know, well, you don't want the I'm not doing nothing or you don't even want mediocre. You want people who have a backbone that's going to be there all the time,
And in that little town, like I said, there's no money, right? But if you need something, you only take what you need, You wouldn't ever, like if you only needed, let's say you're making a recipe and you need some tomatoes to make some tomato sauce, right? And you need 3 tomatoes for the recipe. You take 3. Mm-hmm. You don't take everything on that plant because somebody else could use it.
Right.
And hopefully you'd build enough of a loving culture with everybody that they wouldn't do that. They'd go get the 3 they need, go home, make their dinner, and there's still the rest for everybody else.
Right. So it's more or less like maybe like how the Amish do. Not like the religion part, but just the way they do as a community.
Yeah, like that. But like, I wouldn't, be like, oh, you can't have technology or anything. I wouldn't. Because to me, that's dumb. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, like, I watched this girl on TikTok. I recently just got into this TikTok thing, and I just like watching the videos. Baking mainly, because that's what I like to do. Mm-hmm. But there's this one girl that I watch. She bakes, but she's from the Amish community. Mm-hmm. And she has gone away from the Amish community somewhat. They do live the Amish way as far as community, as far as helping each other out, growing all their food and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But she does do the technology for the phone and stuff because she just... I guess that part of her wanted to seek that out, and try it out. Right. And her parents have a car and stuff like that, but she dresses like an Amish. She still believes in what they believe in. And other than that, she just uses the phone maybe to teach people things. Right. Which is not a bad thing, because she's teaching how they do their things, And I think that's a good thing. But as far as her religion, she's not supposed to be doing this.
Right.
But I think in that way, I think to me it would be okay because she's educating people.
Me and religion is rocky. You know that.
Yes, I do. I mean, we all have our faults, right? We all have the way we believe. The world goes around because we all believe different. And I don't think anybody should be shunned because of the way they believe. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I believe in God. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we should love everyone, right?
Right.
I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I cuss every once in a while because one of my greatest sins of all is anger. Mm-hmm. I can get angry like that. And I don't want to be that person. I'm trying to change the way I am. And I think the way I believe is helping me with that. Because in the Bible, when I read it, Jesus tells us to love everyone. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what color you are, who you are, what you identify as, or anything like that. Like nowadays, the whole not everybody, but people coming out as gay and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I have friends that are gay, and I love them. I don't necessarily agree with their lifestyle, but I still love them, and that's okay. Yeah, I'd be there for them in a hot second if they needed me, right? And the same thing if any one of my kids came out as gay. I wouldn't care. I would still love them just the same, and I would welcome them in my house just the same. Mm-hmm. But that's what I mean. It's like it's helping me become a better person because of what I've read. Jesus loved everyone, even though they were beating him, causing him such misery. He was still saying, love everyone. Mm-hmm. Forgive them for they don't know what they're doing. You know? Mm-hmm. And to me, in my opinion, and the way I believe, that helps me. And I don't discredit anybody if they believe differently.
Do you think it really helps you in the long run? You feel like your anger has gotten better?
Yes. Because at work, especially at work, when you're dealing with drunks and druggies and people who will just go off on you for no reason, mm-hmm. It's so easy for me to go right back at them and just tell them exactly how I feel and put in a little cuss words here and there. But I don't want to do that because that's not really helping me mm-hmm. physically and mentally. When I get angry, it affects my body.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Right. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to hurt myself. You know, I don't want to hurt the other person either. Mm-hmm. So by me reading the Bible and getting these positive things of affirmation, it helps me. It's just like if I was to go to Walmart and buy a calendar that has a positive word on it, and I just happen to read a positive word every day. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing to me.
Well, it's the same thing. I get just philosophy quotes mm-hmm. from an app every single day.
Yeah.
And it's just something to think about, keep in mind.
Yeah. But some people think just because they can't see God or Jesus or, you know, whatever, that it doesn't exist. To me, it's a relationship. Mm-hmm. So for me, God did exist. God and Jesus did exist because I've chosen to make that a relationship for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to go. Of course, I want to talk about it with my kids and stuff because, you know, I want them to see that side of it mm-hmm. so they can make their own decision. I don't want to go and try to force it on anyone. My relationship, not my religion, my relationship on someone else. Mm-hmm. I totally don't believe in that.
Right.
So yeah, I truly believe it does help me.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Is there anything that you do that helps you with your mental state, your stress level, other than reading the quotes?
Well, so like I've been going to therapy mm-hmm. and all that. And so my therapist, he's religious, right? And I think I told him, I don't really remember. But he always tells me that anger, sadness, and any negative emotions like that are trying to kill you. That's what they're designed to do. So he tells me that you can either do it audibly or just in your head. You tell them to get off you, get back. That is not me, because me as a human, I'm loving, I'm caring, and creative. That's what a human is. A human is not angry and sad, depressed, or anything like that.
Right, because we're one with nature, right? We are. We came from nature. We're one with the earth. And if you go outside and you get connected, to me, I'm connecting with what God created. Okay?
Okay.
My opinion. The way I believe. God created everything, right? So therefore, when I go outside, I'm not only connecting to Him, but I'm connecting to everything that He made. The mountains, the breeze on my face, the hearing the birds chirp, which you don't get to hear much of that around here, but it's just the little things, the little simple things that make you reflect on how wonderful your life could be, if you don't have all those things, those what I call Satan, because Satan is anger. Satan tries to bring all these nasty things in your life to get you away from the one who created me.
Us. I think so differently from that.
But that's okay, because that's what makes the world go around, because we all have a difference of opinion. But like what I've told you before, when you're on your deathbed, that's when you're really going to know. Okay? And for me, it's going to be God. I'm going to look up and I'm going to, I've already given my heart to God. Now I just have to work on the ways I live my life. Because God always says, you have to not sin anymore. You did this sin now, but don't go do that no more. Because it's bad for you. And you don't want things that are bad for you. You want to progress in life, right? You don't want to go backwards. So go and sin no more.
Over the past few years, talking to different people and everything, I've come to realize that nobody lives in the same reality. And to think that we do, I think is stupid. Like you have people that'll say, I can't believe you think this way and that way and all that. We may be living on the same planet and everything, but we live in completely different realities.
Because we all think different. We're all born with different genetic makeups,
Well, that's why I think we're all gods. That's why I think that.
When you say we're all gods, where does that come from? I mean, did you think that as a child, or was this developed over time? It
was developed over time after doing some reading and listening to, like, I don't know what to call it. What do you call it when they have like an audience and it's just a guy talking and everything? You know what I'm talking about?
I forget what
it's like a TED Talk where they have like a scientist or something come up, or whoever. It's something like that.
Like a speaker.
Not like a motivational speaker, but just like a speaker on what they believe and everything. And after doing the reading and listening to them, it just makes sense to me. Because without me, the way I am right now, none of this exists. So how could I not be a god? But then, like you and my dad created me, how could you not be gods?
Right. Well, mine is more of a broad spectrum than that, because that's, when you think of it, that's a simple way. For me, it's like my God created me. My God created the earth, because we had to come from somewhere. Yeah, you came from me and your dad, right? I came from my dad, but there's a beginning somewhere, right? And even the Big Bang Theory that people talk about all the time, That had to come from somewhere. Where did it come from?
Maybe
The
it's
nucleus had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but it could have just been like a conscious thought.
But whose conscious thought?
It could, I don't know. I honestly don't know. In my belief, I would say, for example, it's me.
Uh-huh.
Whatever conscious thought I had to create me.
Well, what about the plant out there? Do plants have conscious thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, they're alive. We know that.
But how are they living?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, we don't go out and water every plant on this planet, right? They're just living, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the earth was made to where they could sustain and live.
Right.
Right? Like cactus. I mean, you don't have to water a cactus, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So how is that to come?
The way I see it is, it's just made that way.
But who made it and how did they make it that way?
Does it really matter?
I mean, to me, it does. I like to know what's up here. And
I want to know that as well. I want to know everything about this planet. Like, why do we need water to survive? And everything.
But you're only going to get it from a science perspective.
No, I don't care about. I just want to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I've come to understand and realize I'm never going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
No one will ever, well, most likely, no one will ever figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Well, to me and how I feel, it does matter to me because I want to be that better person. I want to be not better in like I'm better than you or I'm better than her. I just want to be better for myself.
Right.
So if me believing in God is going to get me to that point, then that's what I'm going to do.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just at the end of your life, right? For you,
mm-hmm.
if you know you're going to go to heaven,
mm-hmm.
why even keep living?
Like right now, because I'm not 100% sure that's where I'm going because the choices that I make on a daily basis.
Okay, but what about somebody who does believe 100%? Like they're full gung-ho on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they just go to it? Why stay here?
Because it's not in our deciding factor. It's God's choice when we stay or go.
But it's not.
He created us, so he knows that.
But he also
when our time is up.
But he also forgives all sin,
mm-hmm.
right? So you can do anything, any horrible human atrocity you can think of,
mm-hmm.
and as long as you ask for forgiveness, you'll be going to heaven.
Because a sin is a sin is a sin is a sin.
So anybody who believes in God and believes that they can possibly go to heaven will go to heaven if they truly believe.
Yes, but they have to believe and say.
But if heaven really exists,
mm-hmm.
why not just go now? Why stay here where all these horrible things happen?
Because you can't kill yourself. That's an unforgivable sin.
But it's a sin, so it's forgivable. He forgives all sins.
Well, it says it's an unforgivable sin.
But he forgives them all, as long as you ask for forgiveness.
But once you've killed yourself, you can't ask for forgiveness. You're
know
dead.
That.
You're dead.
You don't know that. You don't know what happens after you're dead. No one does.
Okay, I can say to you, okay, I agree with you on that, but we don't know. Like you said, we don't know if I can ask for in my belief, you can't. Once it's done, it's done. That's it. That's why so many people on their deathbed, so many people sit there and say, "Oh God, please help me."
To me,
why say that if you don't believe in it?
The world we live in, right,
mm-hmm.
is heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Is
it?
It is a heaven and hell mixture,
mm-hmm.
right? And if you choose to see the bad or the sin, which is hell, then that's what you'll get. If you choose to see the happiness, which is heaven, that's what you'll get.
So you're saying like what you put out is what you get.
Yeah, I truly believe in that.
Oh, I believe in that too.
But I truly believe that we live in heaven and hell all at the same time. Because you can have days that are just so bad, you feel like you're in hell, right?
Right.
You have something nagging at you in your mind, and then everything goes wrong that day. But then you have other days, your head is all clear and everything. You're doing stuff you love doing and enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to create heaven on earth for yourself. Because as far as I know, once this is all done, once my life is set in stone, that's it. For all I know, that could just be it.
Well, I think when you say heaven, from my perspective, it's peace.
Mm-hmm.
See, we have heaven when we die, but then we have peace on earth where you, like for me, it can just be as simple as going out and sitting on my front porch and just relaxing and just have no thoughts of work, no worries for my kids. Just know that everything's okay, even if it's just for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's peace. But hell, right, in the Bible is exactly what it says in the Bible is it's a fiery pit and you're going to be in pain.
But
right?
Couldn't that fiery pit just be anger? And that pain you feel is the anger you feel?
Not from my perspective.
Because when you're angry or sad or depressed, you feel it. It's not fake, right?
No. You feel it.
You can feel pain and everything all the way through it.
Does your therapist ever speak on that, like from that perspective, that it is a hell way of feeling?
No, that's my own thinking.
Oh, but have you ever spoke that to your therapist?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
I don't feel I need to, because to me, as of right now in my life, I feel like that's the truth.
Well, I was just curious as to maybe what his perspective on your thought process was.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I mean, I think on some ways we think the same, but it's a different way.
You believe in...
I believe in peace.
To me, fairy tales that are just there to teach you how to live. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not real. To me, it's not real. Never happened or anything. But these are stories that are passed down to teach you the way to live a good life, to live in heaven while you are alive. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't follow the stories and you fall in the pits of those stories, you will fall into hell, and your life will be hell.
So what about hope? Do you have hope for anything? Like, for when you die, you don't foresee, like, or you don't look in that way?
I would hope, do you want me to be completely honest?
Of course.
I would hope that God actually doesn't exist, and what happens is I just get reincarnated.
Oh, you, like into an animal or just whatever?
Or another human.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to preach to you because, of course, I want you to feel good about the way you're thinking and stuff. Do you feel good about your thought process with that?
I mean,
Does it help you in your daily life?
I mean, I don't think about it in my daily life.
I do. I think about God all the time. When I do something wrong, I immediately get what I think is God's voice telling me, you shouldn't have done that. It could be my subconscious, right? Mm-hmm. But I believe it's God telling me. God is my subconscious. And God's telling me, you shouldn't have done that. You need to go fix that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. To me, that's just like, because you control your thoughts.
Well, I read an article about the subconscious mind, and it said that 90% of your body, anything to do with your body and mind, is controlled by your subconscious.
Well, yeah, like, I don't have to think to raise my arm right now.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens.
Right?
But everything you do in this life, especially habits, are because of yourself and the way you think. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can break a habit anytime you want. Mm-hmm. You just have to do the willpower to do it. And that comes from you.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. But I also believe that because God created me, right? He gave me that free will in order to make those choices.
My thing is like, you can pray till you're blue in the face, and nothing will come out of it. Because to me, you're wasting your time. If it makes you feel better, cool, fine, whatever. But you got to do it yourself. If you want something, you got to do it.
Right, but what would you say to those people? Let's don't look at Christianity. What about the people who believe in the Quran, or the people who believe in Buddha, that actually go and they pray to the Buddha and they do
or they go to the mosque,
the chanting and all this? What do you say to those people?
If it works for you, good. I think it's dumb.
So you don't really believe in any type of religion or relationship.
I don't know if
it's not necessarily a God thing with you. It's
no, because I believe I am a God.
Okay,
I'm not the God.
No. I'm saying what I would believe as God to be, or Jesus, right? But do you believe in what the Buddhists believe, or the Iranians who believe in the Quran? And
doing what research I have done about religion, I take what works for me.
Okay.
Because like I said, we all live in different realities, right? What works for me may not work for you.
Right.
You have to figure out what works for you.
Right.
I try to figure out what works for me. So I just pick and choose what I want. And I can do so because I don't believe in one singular thing.
Right.
If you believe in Christianity, Buddhism, or whatever, you have to follow it.
Right.
Because if you don't, in your belief, you're going to go to hell, or you're not going to have eternal peace, or whatever.
Right. Well, I mean, I can't really say anything on that because you're going to do what you want to do. And like I've always told you, when it comes down to you being on your deathbed, that's when we're all going to find out. You're going to be...
Well, that's also if you get the luxury of being on your deathbed and you don't die tragically.
Oh, yeah. That's why, for me, it's a daily job, right? I want to be one with God, because if I just so happen to die tragically, I want to know that I did what I was supposed to do as a Christian to get up to be there with God.
To me, that's living in fear. You may not be constantly thinking about, oh, I could die today, I could die tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think
I could die right now. But because you're constantly making sure you have that relationship with God and everything, it's almost like you have a ticket to heaven no matter what happens. Just in case, in your back pocket,
The way you made it sound was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it sounded kind of raw to me. It's not like that for me. It's somewhere I want to be. It's not like...
But you don't even know what it's like.
Well, read the Bible. It's wonderful. According to the Bible, it's a wonderful place to be.
But isn't this planet wonderful? I think it is. It has its pitfalls, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. God created, in my opinion, wonderful, beautiful things here.
Like, I wouldn't say for the most part I'm happy all the time. But, I have my days where everything is just amazing. And it feels like what I would assume is how heaven is described. And then some days it feels like I'm walking through a fire.
Do you ever think it's because you shut people out at all? Because there's times where I can feel depressed, and I think it's because I shut people out. Like, I don't want to deal with people, because people hurt you. Is that maybe something that you deal with?
I'm getting better at it, So I think that in some way, I don't know how, we're all connected.
Right.
So you have to have that. That's why we have to have social aspect in our everyday lives. Because if you don't, it starts dwelling on you. You feel disconnected from everything.
Mm-hmm. How are you working on it? As far as not, you're referring to not shutting people out?
Well, like putting myself out there more.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing this podcast is completely putting myself out there to literally anybody who will listen.
Right.
You know, I don't know what more confidence is that.
Are you, do you ever have anxiety about comments or anything like that? Or are you not even the least little bit? Because to me, if I was doing this podcast and I would read the comments, I would have to really go deep in myself and say, okay, this is just constructive criticism.
To me,
I couldn't look at it as a negative thing.
I don't care, only because I understand that people's words are very powerful, but they're only as powerful as you allow them to be.
That's true.
If you let them dictate how you think and everything. So if somebody comments like, oh, this podcast is trash and I hated everything you guys said here, and you let that sit and dwell in your mind, that's going to be the way you think.
Right.
And you can't have that. You have to understand within yourself, this is me, this is who I am, this is how the podcast is in the way I believe, because I live in a different reality than that person that commented that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So why do I care what they think?
Right. I agree with that. It's like saying to someone no response is a response. You know, it's like what you say to me. I would go on there and say, well, thank you. I appreciate your constructive criticism, or actually I welcome any type of criticism because it could be a positive thing. I
wouldn't even do that.
Oh.
Even with positive stuff, right? Because if you have anything in too much of a quantity is a bad thing.
So you don't want banter. Banter is like negative, could be considered as negative comebacks.
Anybody can comment whatever they want. Good, bad, whatever. I do not care. Because at the end of the day, this is my podcast. This is my life. I have to understand where I'm at and be okay with it. Right? Same thing with the podcast. I have to be happy and okay with it. If I'm not, then I need to change stuff myself. I don't need somebody else telling me that.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I can take constructive criticism and everything.
Right.
But this is for fun. You know, I'm not planning to get paid or anything from it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I kind of like the whole debate thing, you know. So for me, I would probably come back with, you know, I would either say thank you for your comments, or, you know, I would start a debate with somebody. But that's just something that I like to do.
I love debating as well. But when it comes to being anonymous on the internet, you don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
You know? So talking to them is, in a way, useless. Especially if you're trying to debate. Now, if you're trying to get information from them, so like online, I found, you know, this arm for the microphone and everything. That's, you know, something good from somebody anonymous. You know, and even if they're saying something good about the podcast anonymously, I don't know who you are.
Right.
You could be a serial killer for all I know.
Yeah, that's true. But I kind of like the whole back and forth kind of thing. Not argumentative, just
seeing their perspective of things.
Yeah, I enjoy that sort of thing. I was on the debate team in high school, so that's one thing I really enjoyed. And I like differences of opinions because that makes us who we are, you know? I mean, the world would be very boring if we all thought exactly the same.
Well, yeah, it'd be one of those, like, weird dystopian movies.
Yeah, like, what movie was that? The guy that plays in Mask.
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey. Oh, what's the name of that movie? Where he didn't know he was on a TV show.
Oh, I can look it up.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I've never seen it.
Oh, I can't think of the name right now, but it's that kind of same thing. He didn't know that he was being watched.
The Truman Show.
Yes. That's actually a good movie. He had no clue. But everybody was like uniformed and it was boring and, produced and directed pretty much.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's good to get into like groupthink. You know what I mean? Like you just follow a group so you have people around you.
You mean like group therapy and group?
No. Like with American politics and everything, you have Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't just go into either of them just so you can fit in somewhere.
Oh, yeah. So what do you think people should do?
Be themselves.
I mean, like if they're going to a crafting class, they're going there because they like crafting, not just to join in.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's how I am. Some people would say how I am is lonely, but to me it's not. Like when I'm at work, I like to be left alone. I just don't want any negative vibes. I don't want people coming to me and gossiping. I just don't want any of that. I just want to be left alone. Some people might think I'm stuck up or whatever. I'm not. I'm a nice person. I would help someone in need. I like my peace. I like my mental peace. And if anybody's there to disturb it, they're going to know it.
Right.
I'm not being mean. I'm just backing away. Right? I just don't want to deal with that. So I go off somewhere else. But that's, to me, peace in your life is very important.
Well, yeah, because chaos will mess you up.
Yeah.
That's how you start going down the wrong path and everything.
And I lived in chaos, right, when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of other people, necessarily. Maybe sometimes, but by my choices. And now I'm choosing not to live that way. And if I have to separate myself from people to get the peace in my life, then I will do that.
Well, people still live like they're in high school when it comes to jobs and everything.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness, yes.
You get all the gossip and all the everything.
And I don't want to deal with it. I want to go to work. I want to go home, spend time with my family, do my little baking trip because that's what I like to do. And I want to live a peaceful life because not only am I doing it for my mental health, but I'm doing it for my physical health because with my condition, stress can make it worse.
Well, yeah, your mental health is directly connected
right.
to your body. Anything that's messing up your mental is going to mess up something in your body.
Right. And that's why it's very important to eat properly. McDonald's and stuff like that. I've noticed McDonald's and places like that, they are now showing you calorie intake and stuff like that, which is good. Now people can have a choice. Okay, maybe I don't have to have that 1,600 calorie hamburger. I can do the apple slices and, whatever's better, That's a good thing. But ultimately, because we did come from the earth, we should become one with the earth, like eating vegetables that come from the earth,
Well, that's why I started gardening. Squash, cucumbers, and the watermelon I have.
Right. And another thing, it's like now that I've started, eating healthier, is these companies that bring out all the vegetables and stuff. How do we really know if it's organic or not? I mean, does the organic vegetables have that waxy? I noticed there's a difference.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Like the vegetables that I eat, some of them are waxy feeling and some are not.
I think some vegetables naturally have some wax on them, not like wax.
I know what
but something like wax to protect them from bugs and stuff. and then some others don't.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure which ones do and don't.
So even with that, if it's coming from the company or not, whatever, you still have to be kind of protect yourself with that too, because you don't know what pesticides are on them, which could hurt your body, right? So you have to really wash what you eat.
Well, there's this really cool theory I read that because foods are getting softer nowadays because they're produced in a factory and
mass
everything,
produced.
It's making humans' mouths smaller over time.
Really?
Yeah, that's why you got to get your wisdom teeth removed, because your mouth is getting smaller and it can't contain all those teeth. You don't need the teeth anymore.
Oh, really?
So what it is, it's like jacking up your mouth, because over time people's mouths are getting smaller because this food is softer and we don't have to chew as much.
Oh, I didn't know that. And that's a fact?
I don't know if it's a fact or not. I just remember reading it.
Is that somebody's thought?
I mean, it makes sense to me.
I never would have thought of it that way. But I kind of wish that we could go back to simpler times. I mean, yeah, I go on TikTok and I do the Facebook thing. I do it out of boredom, basically, sometimes. But I wish we could go back to the days where the kids could go outside and play and be home at 6 o'clock for dinner. My Gen X days, or even before that, where it was just much simpler times, We could go to the Wonder Bread discount store and get bread cheaper. We could, green stamps and all that stuff,
Well, what changed
I
that
miss
is
all that.
the corporatization of everything. Because we're a, what do they call it? Capitalism.
Yeah.
We have capitalism in everything that we consume nowadays. That's what I believe changed everything.
But you have people like Elon Musk who are, I don't like him. He made these cars, right? And if something happens to him, you got to pay an arm and a leg just to get the thing fixed.
Well, that's why you won't ever have one.
I won't ever have one. I will fight you to the death, Elon Musk, for making those cars. I like my Chevy truck.
Even though it breaks down all the time?
Gas.
Well, what's wrong with an electric-powered car?
Because of it. Where are you going to put all the towers for the electric? Where everybody has to plug in. We're already using all of the power just to run all these freaking houses.
Well, I think the United States government just allowed charging stations across the entire United States.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Charging stations. And who's going to supply all that? And who's going to pay for all that?
The taxpayers.
Exactly. They can take those things and shove them up their butt.
But it's supposed to help the planet and everything.
And how is that? When a charging station goes out, right? We're trying so hard to save the oceans and stuff like that from plastics and all these other things that get into the oceans. It's killing our seafood industry, by the way, right? So now you want to put up more stuff that's not going to go back into the earth? A charging station you're going to put out there. Where's it going to go? 100 years from now, that charging station will still be there. It's not going to be recyclable. Where are they going to put all that stuff?
But they said the same thing when they made all the oil rigs and everything. Way back in the early 1900s.
What? That they're not going to be recyclable?
They're still just standing there today. All those old ones that they don't use anymore, they're just there. No one does anything about it.
And how much do they cost? In reference to the charging stations.
Well, I don't know, because you'd have to account for like inflation and all that kind of stuff to calculate that. So I'm not sure.
I mean, would you own an electric car?
I don't really care, as long as I can get from point A to point B. If it's a bicycle or a car or an electric car or a jet, does it really matter at the end of the day?
Well, let's just put it this way. If I can go to Walmart, when my battery goes out in my truck, if I can go to Walmart and buy a battery for $100, it's a lot better than me paying $20,000 for a battery for an electric car, Elon Musk. I mean, really, the difference is astronomical. That's insanity.
Right, but the thought process is that it's supposed to be where you have the electric car, right, and you have solar power.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not having to pay for electric in your house or your car, except maybe when you have to charge it when you're out of town or gone really far away from your house that you can't get back to the charging station in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to save you money in that way.
And how much does it cost to... I mean, look at the... now we have to pay to put air in our tires. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're away from our air compressor... Yeah. I mean, we're paying for air.
Yeah.
What the heck is that about? It's the same thing. I'm going to be away from my charging station, so now I have to pay to charge my car.
It's the same thing with gas, though. So I don't see what the big deal is.
I mean, I don't have a gas tank at my house.
Right, you have to go to a gas station.
I have to go to a gas station. But if I have a charging station at my house, but I still have to pay to charge somewhere else?
Well, that's if you just can't get back to the house.
I'm already paying buku bucks to have the charging station at my house.
But that's only if you can't get back to your house. And I don't even know if you have to pay to charge your car. I honestly don't know.
I don't know. I mean, do they have them in Las Vegas?
They have them in where the candy store is. The big candy store.
Oh, in Beatty?
Yeah, in Beatty.
Oh, okay.
They have them like right behind the store.
Mm-hmm.
Because when me and Arve went, they had a whole line of cars just plugged up.
Actually, they're, I think, at the casino I work at,
mm-hmm.
I seen someone had their car charging into the building. And, of course, they don't have to pay for that because they're charging it into the building.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know if you ever have to pay for it or not. But that's a good thing to check out.
You want me to look it up?
Yeah. Or we could drive to Beatty and get candy and check it out.
That's way too far.
What? It's only like, what? How far is it away from here? An hour?
It's more than an hour.
A couple of hours, maybe?
I think it's a couple hours. Charging your electric car while out and about is a great way to top up your battery, and many locations offer free charging to their customers or visitors. So there you go.
So it's only free if you're there visiting?
That's what
like at
this
a
says.
Hotel or something like that?
I guess, or like a convenience store.
So what if you're not?
Well, how are they going to know? You got the employee in there that's not going to check.
An employee who doesn't really care. Which a lot of employees don't care nowadays. I mean, just for an example, we went into Jack in the Box yesterday,
mm-hmm.
get something to eat. So we're a group of a younger crowd, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Because it was me, your dad, your two brothers, and a girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. And so we went in there, and no one said anything to us. We stood there for several minutes before they said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, after a few minutes, they're like, "Oh, someone will be with you in a minute." Okay, whatever. We're still deciding what we want. But after all that, we ordered, we got our food, we sat down, we were observing. Well, some elderly people came in, and right away they were like, "We'll be right with you." I mean, what was that all about?
I don't know, maybe they just saw you guys haven't made up your mind yet.
No, they didn't greet us when we came in. It was like right when those elderly people came in, they greeted them. Which is fine. They should be doing that to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why was it different?
Maybe they were all busy. I don't know. I wasn't there.
I don't know. I feel like if you're going to do that, you should do it with everybody. You should greet everybody.
Well, they probably also don't think they get paid enough to do that.
And they probably don't. That's another thing. They probably don't get paid enough, so they weren't cleaning the tables. It was dirt. Every table we went to was dirty. So he had to make a choice which one was dirty and which one was less dirty.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible. I even looked at my husband and said, hey, maybe I'll get a part-time job and come up here and say, hey, hire me part-time and I'll make sure all the tables are clean. And he was like, no, you're not going to do that because... I said, well, you want to go into a restaurant. It's like an outing for your family and you want to go and be able to enjoy it, but you can't because it's dirty.
Well, the problem is most places are understaffed and underpaid.
Well, they clearly are understaffed because they had now hiring.
Well, they have that everywhere you go now.
Hiring?
When we went to the midwife for our son, we passed the police station in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. It had a giant sign, now hiring police officers. And it listed like all the benefits and everything that they get.
Why is that? I mean, you had an uncle that was on the police force, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of cops don't want to work now because it's so dangerous.
Well, it's always been dangerous.
I know it's a dangerous job, but even more now because all this controversy with the, one of them being George Foreman thing, and...
Foreman? The boxer?
No, George...
Floyd?
George Floyd. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, I mean, things like that, because they think every cop is bad. Well, I could sit there and say every human being is bad, but we're not all bad, right? Well,
the thing is like you do have bad cops, and not every cop is bad, right? Mm-hmm. But the good ones who let the bad cops keep doing what they do are inherently bad because they allow it.
But their hands are tied probably.
Why would they be tied?
Maybe they go and tell their supervisor or their chief what's going on and nothing's being done about it. And they just feel like, okay, I've washed my hands of it. There's nothing I can do.
Well, then you stop being a police officer. You don't keep doing the job.
So what do you do, though? I mean, what are we going to do if we don't have enough cops to help out with all this crime?
Well, that's when you just start policing your own streets.
Oh, you mean be a gun owner and all that?
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Because, like, you have some places like Chicago, you call the police, and they never show up.
Why? Because you got these neighborhoods where they're afraid to go into because it's overrun with gangs and stuff like that.
And that's why you have the gangs that protect the people there.
It's just like I read or I heard in your other podcast when you were talking to your wife. The sundown areas, or... Yeah. Is that what you called it? It's like that all over the place. You have those areas that... you just don't go to unless you're brave enough to go to. But they're gangs. They're controlled by gangs. Mm-hmm. And it's not all black gangs. It's Asian gangs. You have the white gangs,
Well, yeah, but usually the white gangs are just racists.
Different colors. Well, they're dumb because... majority of the people are mixed nowadays. And if they can tell me, and I'm not just talking about, they think just because you're white all the way, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm white, right? Mm-hmm. I'm 100% European according to my DNA, right? But I have different areas of Europe, right? Mm-hmm. So, and they're not all white.
Well, it's like in America where the Italians came over and they were treated poorly. Mm-hmm. But now they're just considered white.
Right. Because why?
Well, there always has to be an enemy. You always have to, for some reason, people have to have power over people. And an easy way to do that is you look at them, and if they're different, you just say they're lesser than you. That's the easy way to do it for humans.
That's just being dumb.
It is dumb.
It's just so dumb. It's like now that I have a grandson that's mixed and apparently mixed. You can tell that he's mixed, right?
Right.
And I have kids that are mixed. And if someone came to them and was calling them out because of their race, I would sit there and call them and tell them, number one, you're dumb because you don't know what my children are made of. You're just basing it off of color of their skin. That's dumb. You can't do that, right?
Well, I mean, they can and they do.
I mean, they can because they have freedom of speech. They can say what they want. But so do I. And I can tell them exactly what I think about it, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like I'm kind to everyone because I don't care what color you are. I could care less.
Well, that's how it should be.
It's how you treat someone as a person.
Yeah, it's the content of your character.
Right. And ultimately, I had this one elderly gentleman tell me one time, he says, if we were all blind, I think we would all get along a lot better because we wouldn't see color.
I don't think so. I don't think that would work.
You don't think so? Why is that?
Well, because most humans are evil. They are. They don't realize it, but they are. They
have evil intent, or are you talking about evil to the core?
Evil to the core. Because hating somebody just based off of skin color is evil.
Oh, yeah.
They may not be... They weren't born that way. Nobody is born that way. They were taught that from a very young age all the way up, right? Mm-hmm. But they are inherently evil, whether they realize it or not. And if we were all blind to where we couldn't see color or anything, then we would just pick out, oh, your voice sounds weird.
Oh, so there would be something else that you would find
you got to think about it like how kids are. They'll make fun of you for the dumbest little thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's just insecurities. That's people who are insecure. People who are boisterous, loud, the bully, the one that everybody's watching, those are insecurities.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily insecurities. Mm-hmm. It could be, but it also could be a misunderstanding of whatever is in front of them.
Or whatever they were taught.
Right. So like a white person who, calls a black person this, that, and the other may not be doing it due to an insecurity, but because they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And that's the same that goes for religion and all that kind of stuff.
I really think us mixing as cultures is a good thing because it's diverse. It's diverse in the food. I mean, I being married to a Hawaiian Puerto Rican is a wonderful thing because I was able to try some of the local Hawaiian fare that I never probably would have been able to, Right. Some things, because I lived there, of course, I knew already what some things I could try. But you feel more compelled to try it because you have someone there that had it their whole life and they're like, oh, this is so good, you should try it. You're being kind of coerced into eating it. Whereas you may not just by looking at the menu be like, no, I won't try that, But if you see someone who enjoys it and see what it does to their face and their body and makes them feel good, then you're more apt to try it.
Well, right? It's that social aspect that humans need. Mm-hmm. And when somebody is like, oh, I want to share this thing with you. Right. And it's something that you're willing to be shared with, and you wind up liking it, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing feeling.
Right. And that brings me to another topic that, maybe we can talk about some other time, but I just want to touch on it a little bit, is, like people who talk about the Mexicans coming over here illegally and stuff like that. Well, they're not the only ones that are coming over here illegally. Mm-hmm. There's a diverse of cultures that come over here illegally.
Well, they just do that because it's the closest one.
It's close, right? But like this one girl said that I was watching on TikTok, she said she is from another country. Mm-hmm. I think she was from Africa. And she says, I came over here legally. She went through all the steps and everything. And she says, and for people who tell me that I should like it or want people to come over here illegally, is wrong because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I had to pay a lot of money to come here. And she had the African accent, you know, so it's kind of hard for me to understand, to listen to it like several times. But she said, I don't want them to come over here illegally. I want them to come over here legally like I did. I paid a lot of money to come over here.
Right.
I paid a lot of money to learn the culture, the history and everything, so I could take the test to become an American citizen, which I dreamed of becoming for a long time because it was better than where I was living.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, I can see where a lot of people get mad, but I don't think they should come over here illegally either. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they should take the proper steps because now we're putting money into people who are not contributing.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to call the podcast here? And then we'll save that for next time.
Government issues? I don't know. Help me out here.
What?
What do you want me to call it?
No. I'm asking, do you just want to end it?
Oh, I thought you
So that way we can talk about that next time.
Oh, yeah. We can call it right here. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
I appreciate everyone that comes on and does it.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Okay.